Welcome to the podcast. It's the best podcast in the world. This is going to end up on the show. I know it, motherfucker.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 120 of Epitome of Stupidity, your favorite allegedly metal podcast. Today we are going full extreme fucking metal with Blades by Scour off their recently released album Gold, released on February 21st. And as I believe I'll be told later, go for fucking gold. Why not? The album is a fucking buzzsaw. The 30 seconds you heard there is a solid precursor. If you want a full-on ass whooping of an album, look no further. But we'll get to that goodness here soon. Until then, how about some Sonic Temple commercial goodness? Yeah.
Sonic Temple Art and Music Festival, the pinnacle of rock festivals in America, returns in 2025 with Linkin Park, Korn, 2 nights of Metallica, no repeat weekend, plus Bad Omens, Incubus, Alice in Chains, Rob Zombie, 3 Days Grace, Alice Cooper, I Prevail, Jimmy Eat World, Chevelle, Motionless in White, and so many more. May 8th to the 11th at Historic Crew Stadium in Columbus, Ohio. Passes on sale now at sonictemplefestival.com.
So the show had a big Sonic Temple giveaway back in October when they announced the full lineup, and it sounds like we'll have some single day passes to give away here soon as well. Stay fucking tuned for more info there. Now that all that has been said, let's introduce ourselves, yeah? If you're new here, welcome in. I'm Clint. I'll be your MC for the today's metal-flavored conversation, if you will. Yes, maybe. Consumption of which, even, easy for me to say, should go something like this. I'm going to say things for a couple minutes, and I'll wrap up my little monologue and sponsor section with some notes about the band, after which there will be less of me, yay, and more of the person or people from the featured band, as previously mentioned, which will be Scour. If you're not new here, you already know all this, but thank you for coming back. I fucking love you. Oh, and for you YouTube folks, the show now has actual video. I plan to release some of the shows from last year that I have video every Friday. I'm going to edit one of those after I'm done recording this. Yay, me. So you can actually see me talk to some of these cool fucking people. Typically, at this point, I try to come up with some whimsical fucking way of telling you about the deliciousness that is Brimming Horn Meadery. We're going to skip that today and go right to the fucking point. They just released a collaboration mead with Max Cavalera, that's right, of Sepultura, Soulfly, and all the other fucking stuff. Him and the Brimming Horn dudes and mead, go to brimminghornmeadery.com right now. Get that stuff before it sells out, because it's fucking going to. Use code EPITOMEAD at checkout. That's EPITOMEAD. You'll get you a discount on it as well. They'll send it straight to your door. I mean, seriously, pause this. Go do that. Why would you not? Now that you're back and I'm still here, I'll continue my monologue. You know, Spotify's desktop app. I'm talking dirty words here. I know it. Fine. Let me live. The desktop app has a function where you can see what other people are listening to, which means that other people can see what I'm listening to. I love seeing what you're listening to. I love hearing about what you're listening to. I love telling people about what I'm listening to. Clearly, otherwise I wouldn't have done 120 of these fucking shows. So for me, since the last show, I've been listening to a lot of Mark Lanigan because there was an anniversary in there. Mostly field songs, a lot of field songs. I like the newer stuff as well. Blues Funeral, all Bubblegum. There's a lot of fucking great stuff with Mark Lanigan. That damn Mad Season album, all the Queen stuff he's on. It's all good. Outside of that, I also had a good run of some Monster Magnet. Dopes to Infinity never gets old. Some Spirit World. The Stu of the band wrote a book, Godlessness, that I think goes along with the album. We might be finding out about how that all worked out here soon. I was listening to a lot of Spirit World as I was reading their book, some Generation of Vipers and Guiltless, because, of course, And all these things were mixed in with a heavy dose of Scour. Using that as a jumping off point, how about some Clint notes on Scour? Yeah. The first and obvious thing here that everyone is going to note about Scour is, of course, Phil Anselmo's involvement. And being a super group of sorts, the rest of the band ain't exactly filler. Featuring members of bands like Misery Index, Pig Destroyer, Agoraphobic Nosebleed. See how I slowed down to say that without fucking it up and then told you about it anyways? And even more, they caught my attention right off the back, way back in 2015 with their first single, Dispatched. They've released 3 EPs, and late February, they released their first full length. From here on, let's maybe add their bass player, John Jarvis, to the conversation and see how the conversation goes from there. I've got a hint for you. The conversation was already recorded. It goes well. Stick around. It says here to make extreme metal phone sounds. I don't know what those are, so go. And he answered. On the line with me today is John Jarvis of fucking Scour. John, how are you today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
I'm happy to talk with you. The initial question here is should be an easy one. Where are you calling from? What you listening to lately?
Well, I'm down in Louisiana right now, and listening to a lot of Humble Pie, a lot of Free, Little Bad Company.
Yeah.
You know, I'm getting in
You might
this.
be the
like,
first person to say that in 120 episodes.
Yeah, you know, it's finding some cool classic rock that I really didn't listen to. I was a kid. I was mostly into the AC/DC or even the Jimi Hendrix and Skinner.
Sure.
And so, you know, and I know all the hits from Free and Bad Company, don't get me wrong, but listening to the tracks, you know, the songs I've never heard, you know, on the rest of the record, basically what I've been doing.
The B-sides or the deep cuts there, huh?
Right. Yeah, and there's a lot of new stuff like Fleshwater, and there's some new bands I've been checking out. Blanket was one. There's a lot of young kids playing. There's one's called Milk Crate out of Seattle. They sound like they're from the 90s.
Yeah, I think I've actually heard them. And if not, I'm going to make a note about them.
Yeah, there's a lot of good shit out there.
Always. And there's just a wealth of it. It's all at your fucking fingertips nowadays.
Right, yeah. It's easier than ever to, you know, there's so many different platforms that once you play the record you want to listen to, it'll maybe play some artists similar.
Right. Yeah. In 120 episodes, I'm certain that this is a first. In doing my, I hate to use this word nowadays because it's been run through the ringer, but in doing my research for this show, I saw that I believe you and I have the same fucking birthday. So my next question is, why is it better than all the other birthdays?
Well, I guess we share with Helen Keller also.
Yes.
Did you know that?
I did.
It's a great time of the year, man. That's for sure.
I'm not going to argue that.
At least it is here, you know, beautiful mid of the summer. And
It's about as good as it gets in Columbus, Ohio. That late June, early July. It's about as it's before you get all the humidity and ridiculousness. And I think we've solved something really important so far already, John.
right on, man.
And also in Columbus, I just realized there's like a whole thing here on June 27th. Clutch is in Columbus.
Well, how about that?
We've done tic-tac-toe this damn thing.
So I have some Clutch stories if you want to hear.
I always want a Clutch story.
Well, we played with them in Chicago, and it was a big festival. It was outdoors, like Ozzy headlined it. And in our backstage area, I was sneaking my family backstage, and we happened to be next door to Body Count and Clutch. And my brother-in-law's favorite band is Clutch. So when he saw the singer of Clutch, he was kind of bothering him backstage, you know, to the point where I guess he complained to his tour manager, who complained to somebody. And next thing you know, we got kicked out of our own backstage.
Oh, shit.
And I was partying with my family, and we were all very intoxicated. And I was probably the most drunk of us all. And when we left, the drummer from Clutch stopped me and said, "Hey, man, I saw you play earlier. You guys are great." And I said, "Well,
Okay.
I said, I wish I could say the same for you guys." And I let him have it because I did watch Clutch's set and they played all new stuff. And I said, "Hey, man, why don't you guys try to play some old stuff for your fans?" I said, and I kind of took it pretty far because, like I said, I was drunk and angry and getting kicked out. And so the next day, I got an email from my record label. It said, "Hey, Clutch wants to know your T-shirt size." And so I sent it back, and Clutch had shipped me some old merchandise from the old days and said, "Hey, thanks for being a fan from the old days."
No shit.
Yeah.
And since then, they've started doing shit like Binge and Purge live again.
Well, I think it's thanks to me.
I think you're the catalyst here, John.
I noticed shortly after they started really playing the old stuff. So
I'll be damned. I did not have this on my bingo card today. So we'll get on to the Scour shit here. I know you're in a handful of bands and they're not exactly yacht rock, but what's it like playing bass in a band where everything is so damn fast?
well, you got to rehearse weeks and months in advance, really. I just to get the speed ready for myself. It's kind of like a spring training game for a baseball team or, preseason for your football team. You got to kind of get your body ready for it. And with Scour, it's the fastest stuff I've ever done. So luckily when we're all together, you get a little more adrenaline going, but it really takes a lot of practice to play that stuff.
I fucking believe it. Album's been in the works since what, 2023, I think. How's it feel to finally have it out in the wild, and what's the reaction been to it so far?
Well, it feels great. We worked on it for a long time, and I think so far it's been mostly positive. Anyone that's into extreme music seems to dig it. There's some people that say, "Hey, it's too much for me." There's some people that say it's not real. like we're cheating somehow. I always think that's funny. If you look on some YouTube comments, they get pretty good. But there's good and people enjoy it, and I'm just glad people are finally checking it out. We're having more people check it out than ever now, thanks to Pantera's back,
Right.
and you'll see in the comments that I do check out, they say stuff like, "Hey, Pantera, this ain't no Pantera." It's like, well, we're we're not trying to be Pantera,
right? It sounds like the writing and initial recording process were pretty intense too, which obviously makes sense for music that's this fucking intense. Can you walk us through how the recording went?
Yeah, I mean, it really is done about over 2 weeks as far as all the music goes. The first week was all drums and really, pushing Adam as far as he can go. And at some point we're like,
that's your cousin, right?
Yes. And, when you set a deadline on stuff, you kind of got to work faster and harder. And being the bass player, I was the last on the list here. So of the 2 weeks, I show up in the beginning and I wait and I wait and I wait. And then the guitars are done, and then there was 1 day left. It's like, oh, time for bass.
Somebody called John in here.
And finally I got to go in. So I kind of got to watch everything for the first couple weeks and wait patiently, and then finally got to jump in there. And then after that, we mixed and mastered a little bit to get a nice mix for Phil to sing over. And then I got to record that. It was really a cool experience to sit behind the desk and listen to him, and he'd tell me what to do as I do this. He had a vision of how to do it, and I learned a lot just by sitting back and doing what he said.
Well, yeah. What are you doing in the 13 days leading up to the day that you get called to play?
I was all over the place. I was going to parades because it was Mardi Gras season. There was a carnival, and I was just trying to find stuff to do. And you kind of try to stay out of the way, but every once in a while I'd find them in a pickle in there and try to go and help in any way I could, you know.
Nice. I see that in some of the notes here that the backup vocals and mixes, some of which were done in the backstage area for some of these Pantera Arena shows. I've heard of writing on the road, but I don't know that I've ever heard of doing bits of the recording and mixing and stuff on the road. How'd that stuff work out?
Well, what I did, I brought a little portable studio, basically this setup, what I got right here, you know, what I'm talking through right here, right through my interface into my computer, and it's pretty simple. And I'd bring it from show to show, and after I would get done singing for Nest, I would go back and record the vocals. And after about a week of that, I was done, and then it was time for Derek. So he luckily didn't have to sing on stage, so he could do his vocals at any time. So we knocked his out pretty quickly, and then we just had to get Mark's in there. When the last 2 days were right around where he lived, so it's perfect for him to jump out and knock his out. So it really, once Phil was done, and that's when we can go in and do that. So we kind of had to wait for that, and once we had those vocals, that's when we started to write the backing vocal time. But it just happened to be, me and Derek on the same tour, and just perfect timing to do it, really. And there was other people that are like for example, the Live Nation guys that were paying me every night. They'd be like waiting at the door for me to end a track because they knew I was in there recording, and they'd walk in and they'd be like, how can you like, they're like you have no manager, you have no crew, this is insane, and now you're recording right now? And I'm like, yes. I was like, it doesn't stop.
You're gonna have to write yourself a book on how to properly use all of the damn time in your day.
Right. Yeah, it can be done. And I mean, it was cool because a lot of these rooms had great acoustics in them. Like we're like giant, like you're in the hockey arena room for the Nashville Predators. They got a nice ceiling, and it's actually pretty good for backtracking vocals.
And they're doing fucking Scour backing vocals.
Oh yeah, and there'd be a nice lady out front doing security, and I'd have to tell her, say, if you hear me screaming in there, it's okay. I'm just working. You don't have to come help me.
That's fucking hilarious. I want to know, I guess, if any of this happened at the Sonic Temple Festival last year, because I know Pantera was there. Albeit pretty damn drunk, I was also there, so I figure if everybody was there at the same time, I get some kind of producing credit or something, right?
I wasn't actually at that one now.
Oh,
but
there goes my producing credit.
Sorry. But
I'll use that as the jumping off point for the token Phil question here, because obviously Pantera, Phil, all that's, especially lately, coming full circle, and that's a big deal. What's it like working with Phil?
Oh, it's incredible, man. Learning every day, and then, just little things that I pick up that, most people don't get to see, I get to see a different side, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm sure if you're a big fan or you've seen all the videos and you grew up, listening to the band, you probably got an image of who he is. But he used to be that, people grow up. He was 21 years old back then, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like a more chill, laid back vibe nowadays instead of the angry, I'm going to kick everyone's ass vibe.
Which is somewhat fucking hilarious because you got the Pantera stuff, you got the Scour stuff. He's clearly got a lot of shit still going on in there.
Well, yeah, and that's the beauty. It's like if you could still get more extreme somehow.
I was going to say, I'm not sure you guys have left a lot of fucking room on that one.
Well, right, and that's what the beauty. It's like now we're kind of pushing ourselves in each other. Like, what's next? We gotta take it to the next level somehow. We got to keep pushing it,
Oof. Good fucking luck. And in relation to what I read was that the stated goal for this album was to construct a truly diabolical composition. Clearly, I think you guys fucking nailed it, but I'm on the outside. Did you nail it?
I think so. I've listened to it a few times. You know, we listened to it a million times a year ago when we were mixing and mastering it. But recently listened through again, and it's like, wow, it doesn't seem to. It's like a 12-round boxing fight that like you won't fall down and you can't get knocked out. You just it just keeps hitting you and hitting you and hitting you. And there's a couple, little breaks in there to give you a little breather, but it's all pretty ripping. There's really no filler in there,
Yeah, it is a pummeling. In an album that is a pummeling and just a fury of musical explosions, what are some of the themes on the album that, in combination with the musical just fucking viciousness, that make it so diabolical or something like that?
There's some religious themes, I'd say.
Yeah.
I'd say there's religion. There's, of course, there's some books that Phil was reading that inspired a lot of the lyrics. By John Paget was his name, a guy down in New Orleans. Wrote a few short stories that he kind of pulled some ideas from and lyrics. So he had a pretty cool vision for the whole thing.
And again, it seems like it came together really fucking well. It's all for extreme music. It all seems kind of modern somehow too. How does Scour pull this kind of music into a modern phase?
Well, I mean, the recording process, we try to keep as analog as possible, but at times it's good to have the ease of a click, or, if the drummer needs to get through a part, maybe sometimes he just needs to take off the click and just rip it, and then for me, it always starts with the drums, everything, but you got to use technology if you can, and we're lucky to to have the means to mess around with stuff, but at the same time, you don't want to go like share auto tune, and we could make it really polished. And I think, I didn't do any edits on my bass, I just kind of played it and that was it. Like I said, I only had a day to do it. I couldn't go back the next day and listen and say, ooh, maybe I could do that better. And because I did listen, I made the mistake recently because I was learning some other songs, and I listened back and I said, ooh, I wish I could have taken some more time on this, but really when you listen to it in the context of the song, it's a little different. But yeah, it's the modern technology. You got to use it for your benefit. I wish we could go back to the 1982 style of recording, but at the same time, it's so easy to do it, to take this computer downstairs and plug in a guitar and then took this microphone and put it right on the speaker. Yeah. And there, I don't need to pay somebody, you know what I mean? It's like, it's easy. There's pros and cons to it, but it's great for kids. If you got a couple $1,000, man, you could record your own music. It's great.
Yeah. And get it out there to any of the things that we were talking about just a little bit ago. And as also mentioned just a little bit ago, you can take that whole setup and have it set up in the back room of the Nashville Predators hockey arena.
Yeah, you could take it with you anywhere, man. You could fly around with it just in case you get an idea somewhere. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah. We mentioned tangentially earlier there that the drummer Adam is your cousin. How long have you guys been playing together?
Our whole lives, really, man. We lived not far from each other when we were kids, and I would stay at his place, and his dad had a great country rock band named Boulder Dash. and they'd play all the homecomings and the fairs, so we were kind of little roadies. We'd get excited with helping loaded the gear and all this. But really is when they had band practice was the best, because we'd get to watch them. And then when they went outside to smoke, we would jump on the drums. And I always wanted to get on the drums back then. And once Adam was big enough, then he got on the drums, and I'm kind of moved over to the guitar. And before you know it, he was taking it seriously. And so was I. And we would it would be, we'd see each other at Thanksgiving, and he'd say, name a Metallica song. And I'll play it right now. And I'd say Dyer's Eve, and he'd be like, I'll see you at Christmas. And then by Christmas, he would have it. He'd have it down and then be like, got it, now name something else. And then next thing you know, he's taking it more extreme. He's like, I was like, check out Slayer. And he's like, no, check out Hate Eternal. He's showing me extreme bands after a while,
Feeding into each other.
Right.
That's fucking awesome. What is how many different bands have you guys been in together?
Countless. I mean, the first one was called Primitive Sorcery.
All right.
We played, had a couple originals. We played For Whom the Bell Tolls. We played some Jimi Hendrix. And, All Will Fall. We have a Sepultura tribute, Fulgora. And of course, Scour. There's 5 right there. And I'm sure there's other ones, But Pig Destroyer we played together in. There's one.
The list goes on.
Right.
What's the fastest BPM on this album? And was there like a floor BPM? Those songs slower than fucking 800 BPM?
I really don't know. You can't quote me on this. I want to say it's somewhere between 260 or 280 or something. I'm not sure though. I think we took it to the point where the drummer's just like, all right, if you want me to be able to play this blast the way I want to play it, this is as fast as we can get. It's like, all right, we did it. We pushed them to the limit. We cracked them.
We have found it.
Right.
Was there ever a point? It sounds like there was a point where things were maybe trying to get pushed to too fast. Was there the other side of that where something was too sludgy?
Not necessarily. There's really no slow parts on the whole. I mean, there's one song that's kind of mid-tempo. But no, that never really crossed our minds, I guess. There's some variation throughout there. It's not just the whole time,
sure. Yeah.
But I don't know if there's too much sludge in there or any sludge. I don't know.
No, yeah, I don't think there is. It's I'm not typically this is one of those things I probably shouldn't say, but I'm not typically black metal or extreme metal guy. But there's somehow in all of this speed and without any sludge or anything like that, you guys still find a way to find a fucking groove. And I think that's part of the being willing to work with the modern things. And plus I'm willing to bet that you and Adam's knowledge of each other and playing and all that stuff helped in some way, shape, or form along the way. It's just, I wonder if there is some kind of thought process put into that as you guys are putting it all together.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's not only that, we've all been in other bands with other members too. Like Derek and Mark had their own bands. Derek and myself have our own bands. Mark and myself are in bands together. So we've all jammed together for years, and I know, for example, if something's going wrong with Derek, I could run over there to that side of the stage and fix it within seconds usually. You know what I mean? Or I can catch on to what he's done. And it's the same with Adam. And I'm sure it's vice versa. If I'm messing a bass part up, where there's times where he would be able to, he's going to still play the drums right. You know what I mean? We kind of got this It's hard to explain.
Like a collective focus.
Perhaps, yeah. And we kind of save, like, for example, we do a guest session with some other musicians, and we've done it before. We're like, all right, we're going to play this song with these guys tonight. And I'd look at them and say, no matter what, we're going to play it the right way and keep playing it the right way. If they mess up, just keep playing it the right way. So at least we know that we played it the right way. You know what I mean? But if he has a little flub somewhere, I can usually figure out exactly what he's doing within seconds and catch back on to him. And it's like it wasn't even a mess up. So it's kind of a cool thing that we got when we jam, even if it's a Scour song for the first time, which luckily we'll be able to do soon. We're going to get together and have a, rehearsal for the next show, and we'll get to play a song for the first time together, even though it's on the record. We never actually got in the same room and played it. So it's cool to have those fresh moments, play something for the first time still, and then at the same time, you're like, if you don't play it perfectly the first time, you always remember, what part did I mess up?
Right.
And you can't wait to get to that part the next time around and try to, redeem yourself.
Is that all the songs, or is that just a handful of songs that you guys haven't actually played together?
It was all of them before the recording.
Nice.
So when we started tracking this, we did not get in the room and play it together at all. We had the demos for a while, and luckily Adam had some time to prepare, because in the last couple EPs, we told Adam, we're like, here it is, you're recording like in 2 days. So whether you like it or not, he's like, you better be ready to blast.
So over the EP, the band's been putting out EPs and everything since 2015. What's different with the band now than it was back then?
Well, I mean, we're a little more mature, I guess. We kind of know exactly what to do in a lot of different ways, behind the scenes with the band. But I think it's really the plan to just make it to the full length was just something we kind of dreamt up and hoped it would come to fruition, and luckily it did. But yeah, it's a different world that seems like a million years ago when we started this band, but I guess it's really only been about 10 years. I don't know.
It is funny how just fucking 10 years ago feels like a million years ago at this point.
Yeah, it seems like a different lifetime, but yeah, it's a lot has changed. Of course, a lot of bands didn't make it through. The pandemic has fucking crushed a lot of businesses and bands, and that's what bands are at the end of the day, is a business.
Sure.
A lot of people had to make decisions. A lot of bands broke up. A lot of people gave it up, but we had to fight through it, and you learn from that. And if it happens again, you kind of gotta, at least we know we've got to do live streams if we want to survive as a band. At least we learned something.
What made now the right time to do the full album instead of another EP?
Well, like I just said, it was really the plan from the beginning, and we have plans after this also that hopefully all pan out too, because that would lead to a nice career for us.
Sure.
But you really never know what's going to happen with a band. It could end at any moment, any day. So it's something, once you get the ball rolling, you try to keep it going, and you kind of try to keep gaining momentum, because when it stops, sometimes it really stops.
Yeah. What's next on that list of plans there?
Well, we can't reveal that, unfortunately. A lot of cool ideas though, man. I'm excited for the future for Scour, really. And if the plan goes through, you'll be hearing from us for a long time.
Fuck yeah. That color me excited there. And I'll kind of jump from that with the excited thing. You mentioned there in just a few minutes ago about doing stuff with other people. Scour's had a handful of really cool guests, the cool cover song. What what's been the most fun outside of the original stuff for you guys? Be it the guests or the cover that you did. Who was the most fun? What was the most fun?
Well, I mean, having Jason Momoa on a track was pretty crazy. But for me, getting some old friends like Pat O'Brien, that he's now playing with Exhorder. He was with Cannibal Corpse, a million other bands, but he's just an old friend and just a guy that just shreds on guitar. And having him play on one of our songs was an honor. Same with Eric Rutan, having these legendary guitar shredders jump in. Been really cool. Gary Holt on the new one, of course. Right. These are guys that we've looked up to our whole lives. So it's rad to get them on this, on this record with us.
You guys have a reputation for some pretty intense live performances too. How fucking wiped out are you after some of these things?
Well, it's crazy. You kind of get this rush, and you get in our set. The last time we played felt like really our first show, honestly, to me, because it was like all of our previous shows, we pretty much just played all of our songs, right? Because from the 3 EPs, that's only 15 songs. So, because there's 3 samples, 666, but really it's only 15 songs total. So we basically would just play all of our songs and throw in a cover or 2, and that's the set. But this time around, we kind of got to actually say, okay, let's take a couple from this EP, a couple from this EP, a couple from this EP, and let's play a few new ones. So it's cool to be able to now have more of a catalog to go through, and then the next show, like I said earlier, we'll play some material that we've never played before, and it's cool. And doing the covers only makes it more fun.
Hell yeah. You guys have played some big ass festivals, and I think have some on the docket as well. How often do you get the just big fuck yeah feeling out of walking out to that gigantic crowd?
Oh, it's always insane, and sometimes it's kind of like when you're up high and they say, don't look down because it'll freak you out. You kind of get that feeling the first time you look out and go, oh shit, look at all these people. But like over there in Europe, it's like when you got 10,000 people under a tent, and as far as you can see, it's pretty wild, man.
I fucking bet. What's been the craziest show so far?
I'd say, the Roskilde show for us might have been the best. We played one in Mexico that had like 16,000 people outside of a soccer stadium, and they were chanting Phil, 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 before we went on. It was pretty rad. The Maryland Death Fest show was great. So we all had a lot of the club shows have been pretty rad. We played at St. Vitus in New York, where just people running all over the stage the whole time. It's crazy.
What's the best either tour, show, or recording story that you've got from the band?
I mean,
outside of giving JP from Clutch shit.
Well, I could think of a bunch. The Mexico City, or was it Monterrey? I think it was Monterrey, Mexico, comes to mind for me because I kind of just went off by myself and went to this. I was looking for a T-shirt because it was so hot down there, and found this place selling soccer jerseys, but I didn't know any of these soccer players or teams, and I didn't want to buy the wrong one. So I see these 2 kids, and I said, "Hey, what should I buy? You tell me." And he said, "Do you want the rich people to win or the poor people to win?" And I said to the kid, I was like, "I'm going to go with the poor people." And he said, "You want this one?" Yeah. And so I bought the shirt, and I ended up wearing it, walking out during the sound check. And I walk out, and the crowd just erupts, going crazy. I didn't realize they were cheering for the soccer jersey. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, "What's going on?" and someone came over and was like, "Hey, it's your soccer jersey. Turn around." I was like, "Yeah." And I kind of got a little pop from wearing, you know, I guess it was the hometown team,
Oh, nice.
but yeah, just doing cool stuff. Just everywhere we go, just kind of going off and seeing the city, and making the best of wherever we're at.
What's the best concert in general that you've been to?
Well, probably that Rock and Roll Hall of Fame I went to a couple years ago, induction ceremony, where it was like Duran Duran, Lionel Richie, and then Judas Priest. Then it was you just keep going. Eminem performed, Dolly Parton. You just go down the line. It was just like every artist was just mind blowing. So it's kind of hard to top something like that. But I mean, I could think back to like old shows I went to, like Snapcase and Deftones and Quicksand back in mid 90s.
Right.
Those are shows I really remember and loved.
Yeah, I too have been to some mid '90s, late '90s Deftone shows, and that was where it was fucking at.
Yeah, I'm
And
excited. They got new stuff coming out soon, so that's
yeah,
cool.
and that last album was pretty good too. So I'm pretty excited about that as well.
Right.
In your opinion, who's the most underrated heavy band that people should be hearing?
You mean within the last couple of years? You mean of like all time?
Yes.
Well, I mean, have you heard of Breadwinner?
No.
They're kind of underrated because really not too many people have heard of them, I guess.
I'm writing that fucking down.
But I mean, there's a lot of cool like obscure bands that I'm into that I'm sure no one would know about. But really, there's bands like they're more. I don't know. People say shoegaze, but I hate to say that. Bands like Hum and Shiner, and I don't think they really got their due diligence, because without them, you wouldn't have Deftones. You wouldn't have,
Sure. Yeah.
stuff like that today. And now, like I mentioned earlier, is about these young bands that seem to be, influenced by that era, and perhaps their parents were playing Deftones and Hum to them when they were kids, and now they have bands, and it sounds like really good versions of that type of music, and it's cool to see young kids playing shit that I like.
Right. I think it's funny you mentioned Shiner. I think Shiner was one of the first 2 or 3 shows I saw coming out of the pandemic. They toured with Spotlights and
Yes,
came through Columbus.
yeah, I saw that tour, and
Nice.
Spotlight's also cool band,
They're awesome.
but Shiner is something that not too many people know about, but when they do, they know, the genius of it, like it's
Doesn't
like
take long for it to click.
right. It's kind of like a secret society almost of fans that, like, if you know about Shiner, you're like a friend of mine, you know what I mean?
Sure. I know you've got a handful of other bands going on, and we've kind of loosely brought up some of them. Are there some band names you want to drop? Anything that you want to plug before we get into the home stretch of this show?
I mean, I'm always working on my band Nest, which we got some shows coming up with Down. We're doing the Milwaukee Metal Fest with them, and then they got a show in San Antonio, April Fool's Day, with the Dover Brothers also on the bill. So looking forward to doing that with Nest, and always making new music there and recording, and I got cover songs done and albums, and so kind of staying the head of the game there. And and right now, like I mentioned earlier, it's just the Scour is its first week of the Scour release. So now that that's dying down, I can get back into actually rehearsing the set for the Milwaukee Metal Fest, and it's fun for me because it's a whole thing where I do the samples also. And so I got to know that, I got to put it on sample number 91 for this song, and sample number 92 for this song, and 98 on this song. And if you mess up one of them, it just fucks
all
up everything. You don't want to do that.
domino effect.
Right. So I'm going to be rehearsed, and that's the plan next. What's the
Oh yeah,
next
man.
thing?
Right. Well, I know that between enjoying the new album and wetting the old whistle for whatever Scour may or may not have next, I'm certainly excited for all things fucking Scour. Now that we've had a somewhat intelligent conversation to make it this far, and you've been a lot of fun with it, John, I'm going to kind of dumb it down here with some stupid fire questions, and
Okay.
we'll round into the outro here. First
All
one
right.
should be an easy one. Coffee or tea?
I'm going tea all the way.
Oh, didn't
Hot
see that one coming.
and iced with no sugar. Thanks.
You know, the the designation there. I'm going to tell you a stupid thing about myself. I love me some booze. I will pound out some damn beers like it's nobody's business, but I take big breaks from drinking on purpose just because. And when I do that and go out to eat or something, I'll get an iced tea, but I'll always get it unsweet. And I swear to God, I think the waiter is pissed at me every time. I think they've got to make a new batch of that shit every time I say it.
You're like, yeah, well, now we got to brew a whole fresh pot of fucking iced tea.
Can we
For
strain
this
the
guy.
sugar out of this?
Right.
What's something you could eat for a week straight? Speaking of going out to eat.
My mom's hot wings, macaroni and cheese too. It's just something I never get sick of.
All right. At the risk of pissing you off here, I'm going to ask: are Mom's hot wings actually hot, or are they like a good flavored warm wings?
Oh, she used to get this special hot sauce for years, and they stopped making it. And she is still trying to search for the perfect one, but oh, they're definitely hot.
They're going to light you up, huh?
Yeah.
Beatles or the Stones?
Easy. That's going to be the Beatles, the greatest band of all time.
Yeah. That every now and then I think about taking that question out, but everybody's always got an answer for it. If you had to compare Scour's music to an animal, what would the animal be?
A goat.
Okay. That makes sense. What's something that what's a song or a band that you heard growing up that you hope you never fucking hear again?
I'd be cool if I never have to hear the All-Star song by
Chumbawamba?
there's not Chumbawamba. It was the
Smash
guy
Mouth. No.
Smash Mouth.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks for reminding me. The guy that looks like Guy Ferrari.
You know what? I'm sad that I was reminded of it too, but also I will ride in that boat with you.
Good call, man. You had it. Chumbawamba was close. I think that was another one I could do without.
Right. The other side of that is, what's one heavy song that everybody should hear before they die?
One by Metallica. If you
Okay.
haven't heard that one, maybe you can check that out.
Yeah, that's a good
It's a
call.
good song.
Beer or liquor?
Ooh, man. Well, it matters what era of my life. Both, but if I used to be a whiskey guy, but then I also got free double IPAs for a long time from Three Floyds Brewery, which is one of the greatest breweries in the country. So they're both good. You can't really. I haven't drank in 6 years though, so it's really, neither for me right now. But you really can't go. There was a time where I'd drink whatever you put in front of me, so that's what I mean. I liked both.
I can't argue that. Scale of 1 to 10. How good are you at keeping secrets? 10, you're a vault. 1, maybe don't tell John anything.
5, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's just too much. People pry stuff out of you, But I try to only share with people I trust,
Okay. What's the first album you ever bought?
On vinyl, it may have been Thriller or Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Damn the Torpedoes.
Nice.
On CD, it was Def Leppard Hysteria, and we had Guns N' Roses Appetite that week also.
I thought you were going to fucking double whammy me, dude, between the birthday thing and Def Leppard. The first CD I ever bought was Def Leppard's Adrenalize, so the one after Hysteria.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I was kind of out of Def Leppard by then. You know, they were so great through Hysteria, and then it was like Let's Get Rocked, I think, came out, and I was like, I don't think I want to get rocked.
I think that's I think we've got a 5-year difference in age, and I think that's probably the 5-year difference there. And at that point in time, I wanted to get rocked.
Yeah, well, I mean, their early stuff is so awesome, man. I mean, the first, I love Hysteria still. Just so many hits on that. But Pyromania and, you know, the early stuff is classic.
It's certainly hard to argue with some of it. What's the go-to karaoke song?
My Girl. Usually
Okay.
we get a group of guys and do the whole dancing and backing vocals, and we have a whole skit we do sometimes. It's great.
Sausage links or patties?
I'm gonna go patties
Good
because
man.
you know you can make yourself a nice sandwich.
Yep. Good man. That's the right call as far as I'm concerned. All right. The last question here is something completely unique to this stupid podcast. Nobody's ever thought about something like this before, let alone actually ask this question. So I'm going to give you a second to get prepared. There it was. You, John Jarvis of Scour and many other damn bands, get sent to an island for the rest of your life. You get to take one album with you. What is the album?
Probably the White Album.
Oh,
by the Beatles, just because it's got so much variety. You know, on my birthday, I can play the birthday song. You know, if I want to hear some metal, I can put on Helter Skelter.
cover a lot of, yeah.
If I want
Okay.
to go to sleep, I can put on Dear Prudence. You know, it's got a little bit of everything.
I second the motion. I'm going to go ahead and find that for you, and we'll get your ticket for that.
Right on, man. I
At
got it on vinyl. I just need to bring it. My system is the problem.
Will it fit in the carry-on?
No, sir.
Oh, okay. We'll get a second plane for that one. At this point, I've lost the thread and don't know what the fuck I'm saying. So I'm going to pull it around to say that I'd like to say thanks for carving out some time to shoot shit with me today there, Josh. John? I wrote Josh. That's not your name.
It's John. You're right.
If you want some extreme metal awesomeness, be sure to turn on Scour's Gold and thank them about 38 minutes later. You'll find links for all things Scour in the show description from wherever it is you're listening to this or watching this from. And if you haven't already, you should hit the subscribe button to, again, wherever you're listening to this from. Also in the show description are links to all things related to the podcast, Sonic Temple, and the Brimming Horn Meadery Dudes. Again, they just did a collaboration with Max Calavera of Soulfly, Sepultura, all the things. I'd order some of that before it sells out because I'm sure it will. Give them all a click and follow and all that fun stuff. And now at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to John to introduce the outro song for us.
We're going to do Blades by the band Scour. Check it out. Go for the gold.